Hey everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and today I'm going to be talking about all of the unread horror, mystery, and thriller books on my physical TBR. That is literally a mouthful to say. But basically what I'm doing is I'm doing a series on my channel like I've seen Kayla from Books and Lala do, where she basically talked about all of the unread books that she owned, and I really wanted to talk about the unread books that I owned in hopes that maybe it would help me get to them sooner. Now, do I think that I'm going to read all of my unread books that I own like in the year? Probably not, because I own a lot of books, way more than I can even read in a year. But the hope is that this will kind of highlight some books that maybe I've forgotten about. So I have about 27 books here, and I have them broken up between the mystery and thriller genre and then the horror genre. And I'm very excited because I do have more horror books than I realized. I've really been getting into more horror, that is such a hard word to say, and paranormal books this year. So I'm very excited to have these and to hopefully get to them soon. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each book. I don't have time to read all the synopses and say all the things. So I'm basically just going to tell you what piqued my interest in the book and what little I do know of the book. So the first book is easy. So this is Where the Crawdad Sing by Delia Owens. This is going to start off our mystery thriller section. This is more of a mystery. I think it's written a little bit more literary, and it does have a historical element as well. I'm actually going to be starting this book today, and I will say that I'm a little bit intimidated by it because so many people have loved it, and either you really, really love it or you really, really don't. So I'm hoping that I enjoy this one. I don't really know what it's about, to be honest with you. I've read the synopsis so many times and it never sticks with me. So really and truly, the only reason that I want to read it is because so many people have read it and because the movie's coming out. So what I do know about the book is that it's about this girl that people call Marsh Girl, and she's always lived in the marsh. She's kind of a loner, and I think she gets accused of a murder, and I don't really know anything else. I think there's some romance thrown in there and some other things, but I really honestly, like, unless I read the synopsis again, I would not know what this is about. And I'm okay going in blind because maybe it will make my enjoyment a little bit better to go in that way. The next book I have is another mystery thriller, and this is The Nanny by Jilly McMillan. I own this book mostly because of Ashley from the Bent Biblios podcast. She loves Jilly McMillan, and she has raved about this book so much that I wanted to own it. So when I do read this, it will be because of Ashley. I've never read anything by this author before, but this one does pique my interest. Like I said, it definitely piques my interest more because Ashley loves it so much. This is about a girl named Jo, and Jo had this nanny growing up that left kind of abruptly, and Jo has always blamed her mother for the nanny leaving, and she hasn't really ever had that connection with her mother like she had with the nanny. 30 years later, Jo comes back to her childhood home, and she's trying to deal with some stuff with her mom, and then this skull turns up in their backyard, and now she's trying to figure out kind of what happened. Is this connected to anything that she knows about? And I think maybe her mother might have been trying to protect her the whole time from the nanny, but we don't know. It's Jo questioning her childhood recollections and who loves her and who doesn't and things like that. So I don't know, it just sounds really juicy and like something I might enjoy. Then I have Good Girl, Bad Girl by Michael Robotham. I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about this one, and that's why I grabbed it, because I saw it and I read the synopsis. I thought it was really interesting, and I had not heard anybody talk about it, so that is really what made me want to pick this one up. The hesitancies I have with this one are that I think it's a detective novel, and I'm not really into detective novels, but it's pitched as the best thriller of the year by Kirkus Reviews and Publishers Weekly. So I don't know, I've got it in my thriller category, so we'll see. But this follows a girl who was discovered after she was hiding in a secret room, and she doesn't really talk, doesn't tell anybody her name or what happened to her. And now all these years later, some other case happens, like there's a detective that's been dealing with this case, and then all these years later there's another case that comes up, and they're either connected or the main girl knows something about that other murder that took place or something like that. So I don't know. All I know is the girl was found in a secret room and nobody knows who she is. There was no missing persons report out about her, and she doesn't really say much. So it sounds interesting. I think this might be the first book in a series. I don't know if I would continue the series. I guess it depends on how well I like this one, but it definitely did pique my interest. Next up, I have The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. This is another one that I haven't really heard a lot about. I saw this cover pop up on my Bookstagram, and I had to have it. So I had to get it off eBay because you can't find this anywhere. There's a cover on Amazon, and it's just not as pretty. And I had to have this one because I thought it was really neat. This, I think, is a little bit more of a historical thriller or a historical mystery. And the reason that it intrigued me was because not because of the history part, because let me tell you, this right here does not pique my interest at all. Like, this is not interesting to me. What is interesting to me is this woman is pregnant and she is sent to see her pregnancy off, I think, at her late husband's crumbling estate. And this gives me like Rebecca vibes a little bit because of like what happens there. Like, she's there with her husband's cousin, and I think it's like Rebecca, Mexican Gothic, and something else that's just like making me intrigued by this. She finds this like locked room. There's a 200-year-old diary. There's just a lot of elements that really intrigue me. And before I picked this one up, I really wanted to make sure that it was going to be worth the buy, because I saw the cover and I was like, okay, I know it's historical, I may not like this. So I read the first little bit, like a preview of it on Goodreads, and it starts out with this woman in an asylum, and it was just very interesting. It reminded me of The Silent Patient, and so I was like, okay, I have to buy this book. So I bought it, and now I'm like really excited to read it. I thought I was gonna read it as soon as I got it, but then I got sidetracked, so hopefully soon. Next up, I have Watching You by Lisa Jewell. I have never read a Lisa Jewell book before, and this was one I picked up kind of on a whim a couple of years ago, and it'll probably be the first Lisa Jewell that I read. I am interested to know if I'm going to like this author. I'm very interested in this book, as well as Then She Was Gone, but I don't own that one, so I will probably be starting with this one. The only thing I know about this is it takes place in this neighborhood that is supposed to be like a really good neighborhood to live in, and nothing bad ever happens, but all of these different neighbors are harboring all these different secrets, and I think there is a murder that does take place. So that's all I really know, and I'm excited to check out Lisa Jewell. Then I have Ghosts of Harvard by Francesca Serratelli. Hopefully I said that name right. This is a chunky boy. I don't like chunky boys. So I don't know if I'm gonna read this anytime soon or not, because it really intimidates me. I'm not a thick book kind of girl, and this is like over 400 pages. So we'll see if I get to it. I haven't heard a ton of people talk about it, but I was very intrigued by it when it first came out. I don't remember what it's about, but I will read like the little blurb at the top, because it's just one sentence, and this piques my interest in it all over again. So it says, a Harvard freshman becomes obsessed with her schizophrenic brother's suicide. Then she starts hearing voices. I like psychological stuff, so this seems like it's going to be a psychological thriller, which very much piques my interest. I think if I had to pick my favorite type of thrillers, they would be psychological, because I love mind stuff, but I'm also equally scared by it. So it kind of depends. I can't watch anything that has to do with things like that, but I love reading about it. So I'm very interested in this. It seems like it's going to be dark academia with some mystery in it, possibly some ghosts. I don't know, Ghosts of Harvard. If she's hearing voices, are they ghosts or are they in her head? Who knows? So definitely interested to pick this one up. I just don't know if it'll be anytime soon, unless somebody wants to buddy read this with me, because this is a thick book and I don't do thick books. Then I have The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I was supposed to buddy read this earlier this year with my girlfriends, but we did not get around to it. So I still have it on my shelves. I don't really remember what it's about, but I know that I was intrigued by Simone St. James because people pitched her as being similar to Jennifer McMahon. And Jennifer McMahon writes horror, so I guess this could be a little bit horror, but I think it's pitched as like mystery thriller. I'm not really sure, to be honest. So I'm sorry if I have this in the wrong category, but this one is, I think it's got like a dual timeline, and one of them is like there's this girl that takes this job as a night clerk, but something isn't right at the motel, and that's in 1982. And then you got 2017, you got this other girl who her aunt mysteriously disappeared from the hotel before she was born, and now she's going there to investigate. And I think all of those stories are gonna kind of intertwine somehow. I don't know if I'm gonna like this one or not, because I'll be honest, I read The Broken Girls by her first, and I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I did after reading it, after I sat on it a bit, but I'm really just not sure if it's gonna be like a favorite, so we'll just have to see. Next up, I have No Bad Deed by Heather Chavez. This is a book that I heard about, I think, in 2020, and I didn't hear a lot of people talking about it, but I heard about it just briefly from somebody, and I haven't heard anything bad about it. That's the thing. When I got on Goodreads, there are like no bad reviews of No Bad Deed. And it says she stopped to save a stranger. Now only she can save herself. I believe it's about this woman who stops on the side of the road to help this man. And woman, I think they're arguing, and she, for whatever reason, decides that's her business. And then she puts herself in danger because I think the man like runs off. Yeah, so he runs off, he steals her car because she is trying to help the woman in the situation. He steals her car and it has like all of her stuff in it, and now it's like Halloween and her husband is missing, and he's like, is he cheating? She's like, is he cheating on me? Is he like missing? Is he somewhere else? Or did this man come and get him? I don't know. So it just sounds really good. It seems a little bit detective-y, but maybe not too much. But I don't know. Like I said, I've never heard anything bad about this. I've never read a Heather Chavez, so I don't know. This is probably pretty high up on my list to read. Next up, I have All These Beautiful Strangers by Elizabeth Clefoth. This is a young adult mystery thriller, and it's a little bit chunky too. I've been putting this one off because it's young adult, and I feel like young adult thrillers may not be for me, but I've heard so many good things about this, so I don't know. I just really don't know, and I don't remember what this is about. It's a summer thriller. It says it's psychological. A young woman gripped by her mother's disappearance is caught up in a dangerous web of lies and deception involving a secret society. And that just sounds really good. I don't know. I don't want to say anything else about it because, like I said, I got to keep this short, but it sounds good. I just don't know when I'm going to read it. I'd planned to read it this summer. I believe it was on my 22 books for 2022, but I honestly don't think I'm going to get to it this year because summer's almost over and this is chunky. Another mystery thriller that is young adult and summery is I Killed Zoe Spanos, which I also probably won't get to this year, but I think that's okay because I haven't even had this book for a year yet. It was gifted to me, and so I have some time. I feel a little bit okay about it, about letting it sit for a little, but I don't know. I'm just so nervous to read young adult mystery thrillers. If you've read either of the past two books that I've talked about, let me know what you think, but I don't really know what this is about. I guess it's about who killed Zoe Spanos. I don't know. I think there's a girl that looks like Zoe Spanos, maybe, that pops up. Honestly can't remember, and like I said, I'm not reading synopses, so I apologize that I'm not pitching the book well, but we're just talking about my unread books. I'm not trying to pitch it to you because I don't even know if it's good. So if you like it though, let me know in the comments. Then I have The One by John Mars. I have heard a lot of people rave about this book, so I wanted to give it a shot. I think it has some romance aspects in it because it's about this dating service, and this dating service has like perfected their service, and they do this DNA test to match you with your perfect person, and this is like splitting up marriages. It's pairing people with serial killers. It sounds like a lot. It just sounds like a lot. So I don't really know if I'm gonna like it or not, but I'm very intrigued by the concept of this happening, and I don't know. I think it's a mystery. It's a thriller. Okay, it says it's a dark thriller. Do you guys ever get confused on whether or not something's a mystery or a thriller or a horror because it's just marketed in a really weird way? Because I feel like this is one of those, but I feel like everybody really likes this one and they say it's got good twists, so I guess I'm gonna see when I read it, which will hopefully be soon, but probably not because I have so many books. Then I have The Last Flight by Julie Clark, which is a book that I can't decide. I'm kind of on the fence. Am I as intrigued to read this anymore? Probably not, but I do still want to give it a chance. I've heard mixed things about it, but the concept sounds really intriguing. It's about these two women who meet on a flight and decide to switch lives because both of them are trying to flee situations that they're in, but then they also have to keep up the secrets of the others or find out like whatever secrets these women have. Sounds very dramatic. It's not too long of a book, but the text is a little bit small, so that is a little bit intimidating. In case you haven't figured it out yet, I like short books. 250 to 300 pages is my sweet spot. So I do think this is interesting. This is a very soft book, by the way. I love these like soft paperbacks. Sorry, tangent, but I do think this is interesting. Like I said, it has mixed reviews, but I want to still give it a shot. Next up, I have Fragments of the Lost by Megan Miranda. This is a young adult mystery thriller about this girl whose ex-boyfriend just recently died by some terrible accident. I'm not sure if it was like murder or suicide or an accident. I'm really not sure. It says it's an accident, but it happened on this bridge, and she is going back to his room to kind of help his mom clean things up. His mom is really not a fan of her because she kind of blames her for all of the things that happened to him or for this accident. She reluctantly lets her in his room because this like girl is everywhere, even though she's an ex. Like, she's everywhere in his room. Her things are there, or things that remind him of her or something like that. Anyway, so she's cleaning out the room, and she starts to kind of figure out that her ex-boyfriend may not be who he said he was, and that there may be other secrets underlying as to why this accident happened. So now she is trying to uncover the truth about him. Next, I have Is Mod Dixon by Alexandra Andrews. I had seen this book I think I've seen a few people talk about it now, but I'd seen this book far before I'd seen anybody else talk about it. I saw it and I was like, this sounds really good. And I can't remember, I remember that it was, because I saw it on a library database, not database, but like where you order library books from when you work at a library. You can tell it's been a minute since I've been in there because I can't even remember. But through that service, I'd seen this book before it came out, like months before, and it sounded really interesting to me. And it said it was like pitched as being similar to another book or for fans of another book, and I can't remember what it was at this point. I keep wanting to think it was The Silent Patient, but I really don't think that's what it was. So I have no idea at this point, but I know that's what piqued my interest in it to begin with. And now I don't remember really what it's about, and I still haven't really heard a lot of people talk about it, but I am intrigued by it. I think it's a little bit slow, but it's about, I think, this woman who is in publishing, and she creates this new identity. There's this other woman involved somehow, and I don't know. I really honestly don't remember. It's a psychological thriller, which again is probably why I added it to my list. The next book I have is The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I picked this one up because I read The 7 or 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, and I really enjoyed that one. It is very slow, and it did take me a little bit to get into, but it ended up being a book that I really loved. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and the twist at the end just had me floored. So I really wanted to pick up something else by this author, but I haven't picked it up yet just because I know it'll be slower, and it's going to be one that I have to take my time with. But this one is about this man who is a detective, and he is like being accused of a crime that he may or may not have committed, and so he is being sent off somewhere on this ship, and there's a bodyguard with him, and there's a lot of other guests on this ship as well, and they all start hearing voices, or they think there's like ghosts on the ship, and then somebody gets murdered. And it very much seems like one of those classic cliche and then there were none tropes, where you've got a bunch of people, somebody gets murdered, and then people keep getting murdered and trying to figure out who did it, that kind of thing. I don't know, but I really liked the first book that I read by him, so I'm really interested to see if I like this one too. Next, I have Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pembroke, and to be honest, the real reason that I have this book is probably because of Liv from Liv's library, because she really piqued my interest in this. This was a book that came on and off of my TBR multiple times before I actually bought it, and then other people read it, other of my friends read it and really loved it, and I just really wanted to give this one a shot. I don't like domestic thrillers a ton. There are some that I've read that I've liked, but they're not my preference. And I think that's what deterred me from this book originally, but I think there's more to it than that. So I just know that it's about this woman who, she starts working at this new place, and she backtrack. She kisses this man, and then she starts working at this new place and finds out that she kissed her new boss, and her boss is married, and there's just drama. So see, that doesn't sound like something that I'd want to read, even though it does sound juicy, so maybe I would at times. Maybe it's a mood read, but I think there's more to it than that. There's twists and turns, and I think it's going to go somewhere that I don't expect it to go, which is why I'm intrigued. So yeah, I'm really excited to get to this one super soon. Then I have Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This is an ARC that I received before the final copy has come out, so I want to read this one soon as well. I have really liked Alice Feeney's previous works, which is why I entered a Goodreads giveaway and then ended up winning this one, but I really love Sometimes I Lie by her, and I also thought that Rock, Paper, Scissors was pretty good too. So I wanted to give this one a try. It sounds really interesting. It's like an isolated thriller where somebody gets murdered, and basically Agatha Christie type vibes. Again, I'm very interested to see if I'm gonna like this one and see if Alice Feeney is still an author that I enjoy. Before I move into the horror books, I do want to mention this one is a little bit different than mystery thriller. This is a cozy mystery, of which I do not own a lot of, but this is one that I started reading last year. It's called Curse the Day by Annabelle Chase, and it is Spellbound Paranormal Cozy Mystery #1. There's like a ton of books. I think there's like 10 books in the series, but I really enjoyed what I read of this last year, but I just didn't finish it. So I am planning on finishing it this year and buddy reading it with my friend Lauren. This just really screamed Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Halloween Town, but like adult. And I don't know, it was just very fun. Like, this girl stumbles upon this paranormal world and she can't get out, and she finds out she's a witch, and it's just so stinking cute. And I'm very excited to, like, I'm just ready for fall. I'm ready to read this because I know I'm gonna love it, and this is like my first foray into cozy mysteries, so hopefully it won't be my last. Okay, the last few books that I have here are going to be horror or paranormal. So the first one I have is Rules for Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall. This is a young adult horror, paranormal, thriller. I don't really know. It seems more horror to me. I think it's pegged as horror first before the others, so that's why I put it in this category. It looks super creepy, and I have been intrigued by this since Liv and Zoe and Kaylin read this for their old book club. I really enjoyed hearing them talk about it, like non-spoilery. I didn't listen to the spoilery aspects, but it seemed like something that I might really enjoy. It's about, well, I'll just read you this part. Once a year, a road appears in the forest, and at the end of it, the ghost of Lucy Gallows beckons. Lucy's game isn't for the faint of heart. If you win, you escape with your life, but if you lose, ... So this girl's sister disappears on this road, and she and her friends, I think, are going to find her. It just sounds like a great spooky story, and one that I think, this is a 5-star prediction, so I really need to read this before the end of the year and see if it's going to hold up and be 5 stars. Then I have The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd-Jones. This is a book that's been on my list for a couple of years now, and I'm just now getting my hands on it. I really don't remember what it's about, but it's a book that I remember when I first got into BookTube, or maybe not when I first got into it, but not too long afterwards. I saw a lot of people talking about this and really enjoying it. I think it's about these grave diggers and these people rising from the dead. I have no idea. So I really don't know what it's about. Sorry for the crappy synopsis, but it's one that I've heard a lot of people rave about, and I think that I might enjoy it. It is YA, but I mean, if I'm gonna like a YA, it's gonna be a spooky one, so hopefully I'll enjoy this one. Then I have Meddling Kids by Edgar Quintero. I saw this in a Barnes & Noble, and I had to pick it up because, one, I don't go to Barnes & Noble very often, and I wanted to pick up a book, but also it said it was like an adult Scooby-Doo, and I was sold. I was like, hello, do you know that Scooby-Doo is my life? Scooby-Doo is my comfort show. Scooby-Doo is my everything. Okay, it's not my everything. I don't have a bunch of Scooby-Doo things. I do have some DVDs, but Scooby-Doo is a comfort show for me. I love the movies. I love the shows, and you tell me that this is an adult Scooby-Doo, I'm gonna pick it up. I am hesitant because I feel like I've seen since then some not so great reviews. I think there's a lot of language in it that I'm not gonna like, because it's probably gonna be unnecessary language, but I'm just very intrigued by it. If you wanna know what it's about, literally, it's basically Scooby-Doo. There's 4 teenagers and a dog, and they used to solve all these mysteries. They caught this culprit, and now, I don't know how many years later, 1977 is when they were doing this, 1990 is however many years later, they figure out that the guy they caught might not be the actual bad guy in the situation, so they're coming back together to find him. I'm very intrigued by this. I really hope that I like it. I hope it's at least a 4-star. I doubt it'll be a 5, which is the way that I feel like it's written, but I don't know. When you say Scooby-Doo, I'm gonna pick it up. Then I have House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. I'm very excited to get to this one soon. This is a book that also went on and off my TBR. I initially added it because of the cover and because the synopsis sounded interesting, and I've taken it off a couple times for a couple of different reasons, but I really want to give this one a shot and see if I enjoy it. It's about these girls, the Hollow sisters, and something happens to them where they disappear, and then when they come back, they look different and they're kind of scary. And now, all these years later, one of them goes missing, and they end up having to explore what happens to them, or what happened to them all these years ago, and try to figure out what that has to do with the sister that went missing. I don't know. It just sounds really good. It sounds good, and it sounds like something I'm gonna like all of these. Then I have Don't Tell a Soul by Kirsten Miller. I have not heard anybody talk about this one, which I don't know if I should be terrified by that or not, but this just looks so good. Look how creepy that cover is. And on the back it says, all of the best ghosts are girls. And this one really gives me Gallant vibes, which I didn't really like Gallant, but it's about this girl who, I think she goes back to her uncle's house maybe. Is it? Yeah, it's her uncle. So that's probably why it's Secret Garden, but in a Gallant type way, if you know what I'm saying. So this girl just wants to disappear. She goes to live with her uncle who's renovating this old mansion, but he is haunted by his own ghosts. And I think there's just been a lot of women, his wife is one of them, that have died at this place, and they're still there, and they're called the Dead Girls. So I don't know anything more about it than that, but it sounds spooky and paranormal and like a great fall read. I really hope that I'm able to get to this one this year because I've really been itching to see if I'm gonna enjoy it. Then I have a couple of Jennifer McMahon books, which you guys know, Jennifer McMahon is one of my favorite horror authors, and she's really the woman that got me into horror. So I have The Children on the Hill and I have Burntown. This one is supposed to be like a Frankenstein retelling. It's about this grandmother who is a child psychologist. She keeps her 2 grandchildren. One day she brings home one of the children that she is a psychologist for, and that child bonds with her grandchildren, and they have this monster hunting club. And then in present day, you have another perspective from this girl who does a monster podcast, and she believes in monsters because her sister really is one. So that's what this one's about. And then Burntown, I don't really remember what it's about. This is one of her backlists that I wanted to read before I read the new one, which I haven't read either. So, I mean, who knows? I'm probably going to read Children on the Hill first at this point. But I really don't remember. There's factories and abandoned mills in Burntown, and misfits intersect as a killer from this family draws closer. I don't really know. It says it's an edge of your seat suspense. I hope so, with it being Jennifer McMahon. I love her books. So both of these are on my list. Then, speaking of Frankenstein, I also have The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White. I'm not sure that Kirsten White is the author for me. I was intrigued by her years ago when I read Illusions of Fate, and I loved that book. And it was before I read a lot of books, and now I don't feel like it's as good. It still holds like a nostalgic place in my heart, but I was interested in a couple of her other books, which have been unhauled since then. Then she recently had a book that was her first adult book come out called Hide, and nobody's liked that, and I don't feel like I will either. This is supposed to be her best book. So Kirsten White, this is your last chance to impress me. I feel like that's such a harsh thing to say. But this is like supposed to be her best book. Unfortunately for Kirsten White, I'm not a huge fan of Frankenstein. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe this will be the Frankenstein book that I like. I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. I don't know when, but I'm going to try. And lastly, I have The House by Christina Lauren. You may recognize Christina Lauren as being a romance author duo. This is a horror romance, paranormal romance. I don't know what to think about this. I had this on my list for a really long time. I've since lost interest, but I want to still read it and see if I'm going to like it. I don't know if I will or not. So, it says he's always dressed in black. His head down and shaggy black hair falls into his eyes. But when Gavin looks up at Delilah, his dark eyes shadowed with bluish circles seem to flicker to life. Anyways, it says Gavin tells Delilah he's hers, but whatever lives with him inside the house disagrees. Paranormal romance. It literally goes back and forth, I think, between him and her. I don't know if it jumps anything else, but I know it goes him, her, him, her. So we'll see how that goes. I'm like I said, I'm not as intrigued by it. It's flirted by Ransom Riggs, though. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. So that's enticing. We'll see. If you've read this, let me know what you thought. Okay, y'all, I think that is all of the mystery, thriller, and horror books on my shelves. Like I said, I think there was about 27 of those. Hopefully, I will get to a good chunk of them soon, but I don't know. I own so many books that I have not read. I'm pretty sure I have like close to 200 books. Maybe I don't have that many anymore, but it's at least 100. It's a lot more than I can read this year, so like all these books won't be read, but I love just kind of pulling these to the side and looking at all of my unread books and seeing which ones I still need to read. It also helps me get more interested in ones that maybe I haven't seen in a while, because some of my shelves are not right in front of my face at all times. So if you have read any of these books and you think I might enjoy them or should bump them up on my TBR, let me know down below. And I think that's going to be it for this video today. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit that like button and the subscribe button down below and the bell icon if you want notifications for any time I post a new video. I appreciate you all so much, and I love you, and I hope you have the best day, the best week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, friends.